creak on in at you. It's me. Wednesday, creek day, hump day. Oh, you kids, get off my lawn! Now I sound like me. Oh, anyway. So, Wednesday, hump day. Did I announce what day this was? I couldn't have, because I just figured it out this morning when I woke up, and I was thinking, what do these people want to hear? I think in the middle of the week, you need some rock and roll, right? I mean, I've got all the prog stuff, and we did all that whole thing, and I've got the, but you need some in your frickin' face. So I got some of that. Today is forklift day. Forklift. You have not heard of forklift. Ah. Okay, well, where do I start? It's all about relationships. It's all about connecting the dots. Forklift. Okay, first of all, I got to tell you that I was never, back in the actual day, I was never really an AC/DC fan. Because I was elitist, not elitist, but it just wasn't what I was listening to. I wasn't, I wasn't on the highway to hell. I was on the frickin', I was on the elevator to hell, or the escalator to hell, or maybe I was just already in hell. Yeah, that's it. Got a little singed. Anyway, so I'm playing a gig. A guitar player says to me, what do you want to play? I said, I don't care, whatever you want to play. He said, Hell's Bells. I said, Hell's Bells? By Bill Bruford? Okay, man. He was like, Bill Bruford did it too? I was like, yeah, what do you mean did it too? Who else did it? He said, AC/DC did it. I said, AC/DC did Hell's Bells? So anyway, he wasn't talking about my version. Okay, so why are we talking about AC/DC, Steve? Because of the record that I produced and the tour that I coordinated for Forklift. What is Forklift? Okay. About 16 years ago, we first moved to Florida. We were here for about 13 days and there was a hurricane. Hurricane blew the crap out of everything. And let me tell you what, I'm from New York. Gun, knife, no problem. Weather, can't deal. And I hear about storm surge, and I hear about this, and I hear about that, and they say you check the elevation on your house. I've been in this house for less than 2 weeks, and the elevation is 6 feet, and the storm surge is predicted to be up to 12 to 13 feet. So I'm like running around like a nut job because I'm a typical guy from out of town reacting to something that I really don't know how it's supposed to go down. Anyway, so the thing comes, I get my video camera, I do the whole thing, I document it, it goes away, and now you creep outside for the first time. There's no power, but you creep outside for the first time and you look around, you see some branches, there's leaves and stuff, twigs and shit all over the street. And I walk around the house. One coconut came down out of a coconut palm. Bonus fundraiser. Okay. So I start organizing a fundraiser to support these, because a lot of people did get bashed by that hurricane, and I did it at Germain Arena, now Hertz Arena, and I called my friends. I called Eddie Money. I reached out to Buck Dharma, called Robin Zander, and it was sponsored by K-Rock. They gave me Cliff Williams' number. I called Cliff up, the bass player from AC/DC. I said, hey, hi, it's me, we do the, oh yeah, all right, man, okay, let me see, yeah, we'd love to do it. So, okay, so now, turns out that Cliff and Brian Johnson are both Floridians, and they would love to do this because they haven't been on the road in like 6 years, and they're like dying to play anywhere. I mean, you know how that is. And So they said, yeah, okay, we even have some friends that know the material, no problem, because I put the backing band together. I had Jeff on bass and Mark Hitt on guitar and Paul Pesco on backing vocals and guitar and Chris Clark on keyboards. And it was a cracking band. I mean, really a good band. Guys that really rock. And rock together, which is important. So, I got, somebody got in touch with Loverboy. Actually, I got in touch with Loverboy. I got Mike Reno's number from, I don't know, it's, hey Mike, it's Steve, John Entwistle Band, bop, and it goes like that. And he said, yeah, we'll come down and play. So all of Loverboy came to play this show. Cliff and Brian are going to close the show with the AC/DC set with their guys. They've got, like three guys that really know the stuff. And then my guys backed up Rick and Robin and Eddie and so on and so forth and blah, 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 blah. And we played for about 4 hours and we raised a lot of money and we had a lot of fun. And there's some videos out there from it or whatever. But that's how I met the AC/DC guys. And funny that they wanted to do their own, that they had their own guys. Not funny like ha-ha, but, oddly enough, they had their own guys. So I didn't have to learn any of that material. So after the concert's over, a couple days go by. I'm on the radio doing, thanks Steve for putting this on. How'd you get everybody? Blah blah blah. And, it was just one of those things, and we got some mileage out of it. We did some good with it, and I got a call from a friend of Cliff's saying, "Hey man, I'm a producer. I'm this. I'm that. I'd like to get together. Come on over to where we live." And they live in a gated community. Very close to where I live. And so I went over, we're hanging at the clubhouse, drinking a little bit, whatever. And we're on the way downstairs, to kind of say goodnight. And I said to Cliff, anytime you want to play, let me know. I said, anytime you want to throw down, just let me know. 'Cause I've got a good guitar player, we could have some fun anytime you're ready. I said, well, my singer lives in Sarasota. Okay, so my singer being Brian Johnson. So I was good friends, became fast friends with Cliff because we both live in the neighborhood and it's bop, 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 and we played golf together a few times and we became friendly. I mean, friendly, like still friendly to this day. Now, we don't hang out every day because he's got his world and I have mine. But, we developed a friendship based on this thing. So anyway, we get together with Brian, and actually I called Mark down. And I brought Mark down. This is when I was living over at the country club. And I brought Mark down. I said, let's write some songs for the guys in AC/DC. Let's write some songs, that we could play with those guys. And so Mark sets right into it, man. I mean, he plays just incredible stuff. And I say, oh, do it like this. Oh, do it like that. And we don't do any lyrics. We're just going back and forth with the music till we get something that kind of feels like they might like it. Right? Now, I'll give you a tip. Not that they didn't like it, but the last thing anybody wants to do is something just like what they've been doing for the past 40 years. Just saying. They want a break. Like when we played with Robin, he didn't want to play Cheap Trick songs. Ringo doesn't want to play Hard Day's Night. Ringo wants to play Birds of Fire. Okay, anyway. So, and what happened is, Cliff is a car guy, Brian's a car guy, I'm certainly a car guy, and I got real friendly with Johnson real fast. And we started like girls on the phone. Oh, yeah, Stevie, we'd be calling back and forth and doing this. And so we finally got in the studio a couple of times. We put some basic tracks down, and it sounded really, really good. And so, and the point of this particular monologue is that, just because we're not playing together anymore, just because I'm not, it has nothing to do with how much you love or dislike anybody. It's just the way the business goes. And so just because you are playing with somebody doesn't mean that that love affair is going on. It's very rare that you find that kind of childhood chemistry that you had when you were 15, 16, learning Beatles songs or whatever. And the fun part of the John Entwistle Band for me was I had that kind of friendship with John. We were both adults, and we both really knew what we wanted in a bandmate, in a friend, in a whatever, in a writing partner, and that was a very fruitful relationship. So, just because he's gone doesn't mean I don't love him. And you're used to, you get used to not seeing guys for months or sometimes years. So, anyway. So let me segue off into this first piece of music. This is called Chain Gang on the Road. So once we finally found a studio here in Fort Myers that we could record in, that we believed would do justice to the material, we went in and, like I said, we recorded the basic tracks. And then once we had tracks that we thought were good, we would call Brian down, and he'd come down with his little book of lyrics. And this particular set of lyrics he pulled right out of his book. The only thing I wrote on here was, I did some of the music with Mark. I guess Cliff wrote his own bass part and so on and so forth. But Brian just comes right out with his little notebook and he says, "Oh, me son, let's just have a go at this." And he's going on, and it's like, I'm like, okay, I got to get adjusted to this northern accent. Don't be shy. Your mother wasn't. And so he says, "Okay, me son, let's have a go." And so I said, "Engineer Anthony, let's wind it up." And this is what we did. Poof. So, Chain Gang on the Road. I mean, the guy blows those vocals out And I'm thinking, man, I can't wait to hear what he writes to the rest of this. And come to find out, that was the only thing he had. So he starts inviting me up to Sarasota for songwriting sessions and to talk about things. And he tells me about this song that he's thinking about writing, about a party that goes off the hook. He got the title from his friend Jimmy Nail, and I'm going to play it at the end. And if you don't get a laugh out of that, then I'm going to check your pulse. Okay. So like I said, we go on. Johnson and I are hanging out. One night, Mark and I went up there, and we stayed overnight. And he has a music, he's got a studio, not like mine, but he's got a music room. And I have portable recording gear, and I brought it up there. And he was telling us about this song, this party song that he wanted to write. And Mark and I wrote it while he was in the shower. And he comes and he goes, "Oh, great, me son." And then that night, we watched a movie. That's right. We watched his friend, comedian, was making a movie. And the movie was called Totally Baked. You've heard of Half Baked, Totally Baked. And so Brian says, let's watch this, me son. I'm sitting there with Mark, and we're watching, in his living room and big screen TV. And it's about pot and people just getting whacked. It's totally baked. That's that's what it is. So we laugh, and then he tells us about this party song, again, and we said, well, we wrote the music to it this afternoon, and he goes, "Oh, you're kidding, no, and then all of a sudden, he and I start going back and forth with lyrics based on what we just watched in the potumentary. That's what they call it, a potumentary. Totally Baked, okay? So, I'm getting off the point though, because so we're writing songs, and I have to, as a producer, and because I'm producing the sessions, and as a co-writer, I have to get inside the head of the people that I'm working with. So I listen to some AC/DC stuff, and I quickly get that it's about sex, it's about rock and roll, it's about monsters and devils and hell and rock and roll and girls and devils and rock and roll. So we come up with a song called Try a Little. And this is about a guy who falls in love with a stripper. Try a little.
Open wide, come inside. Take a seat, rest your feet for the ride. There's no proof, there's no lie. Just a sensual gleam in her eye. Let it blow, let it go. Once you dance from the pole, see it grow. Yes, she sigh, do she cry? Does she sing like a bee when she's high? Try a little.
Try a little. Going home, all alone, and only your dream has been blown. Guess who wrote that line? So, the creativity abounds. We like what we're doing. It's real easy to produce these guys in the studio. You know, Mark, I've been working with since dinosaurs. And I said, you know, we would do a take, and I'd say, man, that's a really good one, and and I was, you know, I like Phil Jackson. I like to work from the Zen part of it. I don't want to be like Popovich. Am I getting all basketballed out now? Man, I watched that Michael Jordan thing. I got to tell you, amazing. If you're a basketball fan or not, 10 episodes, take your time. And if you don't already know how it ends, it will blow your mind. How close it is to being in a rock band, it's mind-boggling. Anyway. So, yeah, oh, thank you. It's The Last Dance. I believe it's on Netflix. Find it. If you know, whether you're a sporto or not, it's a real look into the psyche of human beings, how they treat each other, why, and just really interesting. Okay. So we continue the journey, and I know you know, what did you record next? Well, the next thing that we recorded, or that Brian and I actually, we recorded the basics all in a couple of days, Cliff, Mark, and I. Mark did his overdubs, and then, you know, Brian would come in and lay the vocals. So now it's starting to get pretty serious. We have 2 in the can, and they're sounding pretty good. And actually, the first one, Chain Gang, was mixed by Mike Frazier, who mixes all of the AC/DC records in Vancouver. Okay. So, Jana going to go on a little trip. He's going to England. He's got some business over there. He's got to see some family. He's going to do whatever. And so, you know, we'll see him when he gets back. But no, the phone calls keep coming. One day he calls me up and he says, Stevie, my son, I got a great idea for a new song. Sorry. Blood Alley. Dancing on the devil's head. I was out at the devil's head and it came to me. Dancing on the devil's head, mate. We've got to do it. Blood Alley. I forgot to mention blood as a primary factor in the lyrics. Blood, alley, devil. Okay. Yeah, violence, and dancing, which is not, no, there's some dancing in earlier AC/DC songs, but now, you see, I know all this stuff. Well, so what'd you do with all this stuff, Steve? Ah, interesting. Well, we put a little tour together, and went out and played some songs. But Blood Alley, let me tell you what, the way we went after that, Brian had a real picture in his head. Blood Alley, dancing on the devil's head. And he starts to get this picture in his mind. And he says, I see dark streets and, you know, some sneaky bugger up the alley with a switchblade, ready to, you know, put your lights out. And what do you call it when the police blare the siren wails? The siren's wailing. Can you feel it, mate? I said, yeah. Black blade in a hand of ice. He goes, oh, that's good, yeah. And then we go on and it turns into this. Boom. So, that's 4. Is it 4? Chain Gang, Try a Little, Blood Alley. I haven't played the party song for you. That's the end of the show. Oh, see, I learned that from American Idol. I make you wait. I didn't learn anything from American Idol. I did not. Okay. So let me continue the story. As is my way, we come up with a reason to book some engagements. We're going to do a tour. We're going to call it Classic Rock Cares. We're going to try to raise some money for worthy causes. But really, in addition to that, this is going to be just what everybody needs to get out on the road and rock. Playing those songs and the AC/DC hits. Awesome. It was awesome. So we do the first show down here at Barbara B. Mann Theater. Sold out. I think maybe I played some video from that. Sold out show. I mean, people just going berserk. And we had this, I got to find this medley for you. Actually, Mark and I put a medley together of all their hits, and it's not all of them, but enough of them. We found a great way to go from like Giving the Dog a Bone to Highway. It was just amazing. TNT. And Mark really, he played the crap out of that stuff. So anyway, I book a tour. And that's, you can see the pictures that come up are actually from the show at Ruth Eckerd Hall, which was the second show. And, it was great. We said, you've never traveled with these guys before. I don't know what Cliff and Brian's habits are, road habits. I don't know whether they like the bus or they like the plane. I do now. They prefer the plane. And I can understand that, but I prefer the bus. Anyway, so we get the bookings, we do this, and we go out and we play this tour. And the piece that I'm going to play you next, for the encore, this is the second night at Ruth Eckerd Hall, we had some guests on the tour with us, right? We had Robin Zander, right? We had Eddie Money was on some shows, Joe Lynn Turner from Rainbow and Deep Purple, and who else was on that show? Buck, I think, was on that show, and we had John Gruden come out for the encore. I mean, there was people all over the stage. It was one of those kind of things. Ruth Eckerd Hall was heaving, and we played great that night. I mean, it was like the second night, so the first night kind of thing wears away, and then you really get in the groove. And the rest of that tour, we were just on fire. It was just, night after night. I had the breeze with me. Oh, right, that's right. Forgot about Scotty Hill from, come on.
Skid Row.
Oh, Skid Row, that's right. My good buddy Scotty Hill was going to be mad at me. Yeah, Scotty was at the Ruth Eckerd Hall show, and it was cool. What about, didn't we have Mark Farner do the shows in Chicago or something like that?
Somewhere.
Yeah, it was like, call your friends, hey, come on down and play, and they did. And we made some real noise. And then we wound up in New York City. New York City, guess where? I mean, it's, I told you, anytime I need to play in New York, I got BBs. Well, not anymore. But back in the day, which was not that long ago, I think that this was 2008, 2007. And we did quite a few dates. I know we played Poughkeepsie, the Chance we played, and, that's another ringer for me. Just call up and like to play there. And, my shows, that they usually take anything I send up there. I swear, if it's John Entwistle or the guys from AC/DC. And so we had, good shows, really good shows. And at the New York shows, president of Sony at the time, I think it was Steve Barnett, shows up. Him and Alvin Handwerker. Now that sounds like a porn star, but it's not. Happens to be the guy who manages AC/DC. Comes to our show in New York City. Now, the premise is AC/DC owes Sony another record. Haven't finished out their contract. So Cliff says to Steve Barnett, so what do you think? And Steve says, well, what are you waiting for? Kind of oblique, but wow. So I get the permission to book a real tour. Okay. I call up one of my oldest friends who runs an agency out in LA. I said, hey, it's me. I've got this. And he said, really, you've got that? I said, yes, I do. And at that point, we were struggling for a name, which brings us to Forklift. When Mark and I were writing the first material, we were writing it for Cliff. And Lori said, and I said, you want to hear the material we wrote for Cliff? And she said, you wrote something called Forklift? And it stuck. Okay. So I would call it Forklift. Brian's like, hey, you sure of me, son? It's a forklift? What, you know, I don't know. It's strange to me, mate. Okay. So we're struggling with a name, but they're booking the crap out of this thing. I mean, this was going to be like the big tour, and it was nuts. So I'm like, this is amazing. It's, you know, the straighter basher kind of rock is not really my thing, but $1.5 million in guarantees in the first couple of weeks this went on sale was not too bad. Okay. APA was booking the tour. Okay. So Brian says, okay, you know, we're all ready to do this tour. And like I said, we had already done the rehearsals for the Classic Rock Cares tour, so it was a no-brainer. Do the same set. We have all the original stuff all ready to go. I couldn't be happier. You know, this is just when you think, you know, I figured I came down to Florida to retire, I'd get a Cadillac and a cigar and just die down here. Well, nope. You're in a rock and roll rodeo again. Well, okay. So we've got bookings and they're coming in and the guys are calling me from the agency, you know, giving me new dates on the book. And Brian says, I'm having a birthday party. It's going to be my 60th. It's going to be a big deal. I'm having 3 parties, me son. 3 parties. 1 in America, 1 in Italy, and 1 in the UK. So that sounds great. So he takes off. I think his birthday's in October, if I'm not mistaken. And he takes off for the first birthday party in Italy. It's the Brian Johnson 60th birthday world tour. There's laminates and everything. So he goes, you know, and I get the phone call, the staticky phone call. We're having a great time here. And then I get another call from his second birthday, and he's preparing the third and final birthday, which is going to take place actually in January or February, if I'm not mistaken, on a boat.
Big boat.
What?
A big boat.
Yeah, big boat on a ferry boat, giant ferry boat that he'd hired out because you don't want to have a party at his house because then you get all the, you know, the fans going a little too crazy. So leave it to Brian. Have a party on a boat. If they're not swimming, they're not getting on. And if they are swimming, they're not getting on. Great. I mean, everybody was at this party. This is the climax of the birthday tour. So we said, you know what? Get some gear, and we'll play. We'll have, and I mean, Donald Duck Dunn was there, and I think Robin was there, and yeah, Joe Lynn was there, and me and Mark, and it just goes on. A lot of friends, a lot of people that I didn't know, but a lot of friends. So,
Cliff shows up.
you what?
Cliff shows
Yeah.
up.
So the boat doesn't take off. Everybody's on the boat, already getting inspired. Cliff hasn't shown up yet. finally pulls up with Georgianne up to the back of the boat, right on the pier with his car. Gets out of the car. Says, "Oh, I'm sorry, mate. Sorry."
Actually took a limo.
Yeah, well, it was, limo. I figured they knew if Cliff was in a car, it was a limo. No, not true. But so they get out of the limo, and he says, "I'm sorry, man. I'm sorry." I said, "Well, let's go. We're going to play some stuff." And he says, "Yeah, I got some weird news, but it'll wait. There's a little encore action at Ruth Eckerd Hall, complete with John Gruden, coach of the Tampa Bay Bucks at the time. Well, take a look at this. Talk about mayhem on a stage." So I put that together. I really did. And Cliff gets on the boat for Brian's birthday party. And he says, he calls us all. Mark, Brian, me. He says, I just got a call from Alvin. Boys want us to leave for Vancouver tomorrow to do a record. That's not a very good Cliff. And we're like, what? And it was like, is this deja vu all over again? And actually, they went to Vancouver. I had to cancel our tour. So my very good friend is now my friend at APA. And the tour's gone. And it resulted, those guys. So I get a call. Brian lands in Vancouver, and he calls me from the hotel. He goes, Stevie, they don't even have any songs. I said, well, isn't that how you do it? He said, yeah, but they called us in. We thought they'd have something. I said, oh, get them to record our stuff. I figured, I'm dead in the water anyway. Might as well take it. Oh, no, they'll never do that. I said, all right. Well, I said, well, listen, have a good time, and, whatever it is. And he calls me up when they get back. Hey, Stevie, come on up. Let's go play some golf. I'll play you the record. And he plays me the record, and, it was Black Ice. It was an AC/DC record. Sounded good. Everybody did their part. Needless to say, I didn't go out and buy a copy. But, so you got to figure, if in the first couple of weeks of booking we had $1.5 million on the table that had to be canceled, what would we have grossed at the end of the year? Well, been there before too. But I told you about the party song. And the party song actually made it into that movie, Totally Baked. And the checks just don't come from that. But we wound up with a great song. And someday, maybe somebody like you will hear it and say, man, that's a great song. I'm going to have that at my next COVID-19 party, because you won't be doing this anymore. Anyway, I thought you might have trouble with the lyrics. So I took some time to create a visual aid. So I hope you'll enjoy this, because it's all that's left.
Let me set the scene about the song I'm gonna sing. Someone dropped the 2 ounce bag, now that's a thrilling thing. Does it work and is it good? He said it doesn't suck. Where's it from and what's it called? Alaskan Thunderfuck. We started up the party that never seemed to end. Open up the baggie to try this tasty blend. swinging from the chandeliers. Santa's looking mellow and he's feeling kinda loose, mixing up his whiskey with some used bone juice. Stupid Danny's on the rooftop, saying there's nothing here to fear. Standing in his speedo, shouting Superman is here. Cousin Charlie's going mental since he came from overseas, kissing all the pretty girls and spreading his disease. The dog's got the munchies, the cat ate the stash, the chick who fed it to them's lying living on her ass. The monkey's in the kitchen, the donkey's in the hall. Hey, hey, who found the law? Car pulls in the driveway and the driver's overwhelmed. The last thing he said was pizza before he was pronounced dead. The only thing that's left of him is a swarm of flying fleas and a check for 13 pizzas. All the anchovies and the dog's got the munchies. The cat ate the stash. The chick who fed it to them's lying laughing on her ass. The monkey's in the kitchen. The donkey's in the house. Hey, hey, who found the law? Yeah. Now listen, Jimmy's getting goofy, pulling out his private parts, impressing all the ladies, setting fire to his farts. And haters getting smashed and putting all the guys to shame, singing dirty songs back when she was on the game. This party's getting crazy, and I think it's time to split. But I can't move my legs, so I just sit here for a bit. Is that the sound of sirens? Shit, I can't take no more. I grab what's left inside of me and head out for the door. The dog got the munchies, the cat ate the stash. The chick who fed it to them's lying laughing on her ass. The monkey's in the kitchen, the donkey's in the house. Hey, hey, who found the law? Yeah. Hey, hey, who found the law? There was a record coming from the attic. Hey, hey, who found the law? They made a statement, signed, noise abatement. Hey, hey, who found the law? Hey, hey, who found the law? And the dog's got the munchies and the cat ate the stash. The girl is headed with them flat living on her ass. The monkey's in the kitchen and the donkey's in the house. Hey, hey, who found the law? I said the dog's got the munchies, the cat ate the stash. The girl is headed with them flat living on her ass. The monkey's in the kitchen and the donkey's in the house. Hey, hey, who found the law?
So, so what I lose? A few million? I got that. And thanks for all the thanks for all the faces. You know, they help actually when you do those faces and you know the the laughing faces and the heart and the thumbs up and the piss off. They like that Facebook, and I get more whatever it is I get that never shows up. But so keep that up. Go crazy with those, please, and I appreciate it. So so let's see. Got the Who stuff that the album that never got made. Got the forklift here. Okay, so guilt trip. Okay, as I told you, I did away with the regular donation thing, and because I really want you to get something if you support the show in any way. So this is how you do that, and somewhere, you don't have to do it now or whatever, I will send you a metallic print of my original art used in these beautiful, collectible, extremely expensive shirts. And if you don't know what a metallic print is, you're not going to know after I show you this. But it is, it's amazing. So, and we'll work out which one you want. There are 10 of them, and they're signed and numbered. So there's that. So, as I wrap up this hump day, I want to reflect. I want to reflect back. This was an amazing project to do. Playing with these guys, writing with these guys, being, in the moment. It's a lot better than gold record or whatever else. You get all that stuff, and some people do, but what really means something is the recognition of your peers. I mean, if you were to bother, and Brian and I talked about his catalog, and he wrote Back in Black with Angus. But it isn't always about money, thankfully. I mean, it gets challenging. It got challenging. But it's not about the money. It's about the joy and the whole thing. What do all these projects, Robin Zander Band, John Entwistle Band, Forklift, and probably quite a few others that never got this far, what do they all have in common? They were a blast. I got to stretch out. I got to use my chops. I got to play. I got to produce. I got to write with hit makers. Guys in the biggest bands in the world. Okay, where do I sign? Was there some disappointment? There's always disappointment. The valleys are as deep as the mountains are high. I, for one, have enjoyed the journey to this point. That is not to say that I haven't been on some miserable tours. I have. And there's nothing worse than being out there, for me. It's not a job. I get paid for it, but it's not a job. It's a passionate expression. It's an artistic expression. And, I used to struggle to answer a question that I was asked a lot, and that is, what's it like to do what you do? And so I would, try to, it's a big rush, and it's this and it's that, and years went by, and I was asked this question. I said, you know what, you really need to put it into terms that somebody can understand, and I don't mean that sarcastically at all. I mean, you really, if I'm going to answer that question for somebody, I really want to answer it for them. I really want to tell you what it's like. So I came up with this. What's it like to do what I do? I said, you remember, you're a kid, 12 or whatever it was, and it was a Saturday, beautiful sunny day, maybe a spring day, and you were out riding around on your bicycle. You didn't have to be anywhere at any time. I said, maybe you just rushed home because you had to get home before the sunset or whatever it was. I said, and they'll remember, yeah, I remember, yeah, oh yeah, and they're all smiling. I said, well, imagine if when you got home, your parents gave you a couple of $1,000 and said, be sure